afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are, guys. My name is Barry, and welcome back to the channel. I've got Darren on from the Slaughtered Lamb. I know that we've only got half of the lamb with us today. Maybe we'll see Frank later on. I know that it's early in the morning for Frank, and as I was telling Darren before we were coming on, I just realised that it is 1 in the afternoon where we are, but I know that most of my viewers are from the US or North America, and most of them will still be in bed. That means it's going to be a more quiet live Q&A today, but that means people get more time to ask more questions. But
of course,
how are you doing? Yeah. How are you doing today anyway, Darren?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm a bit tired because I was on a stream late last night with the guys over at Good Real Hunting. But, you know, I got up early and did a load of work this morning, and I'm ready for this. So that's good. And I think Frank is actually watching. I think he's working this morning, but he said he'd be watching. So
right.
I sent him the link. So who knows? He might just pop on if he gets a spare moment. But yeah, just say hello to Frank. Shout out to Frank.
Hi, Frank. Hello.
He's here in spirit.
Yeah. I was going to put a cardboard cutout of Frank in the background, guys, just so that he would have been there, but he's not. But he might. Anyway, so who have we got in the chat today? We've got Cynthia J. She's one of my YouTube members, so I'm glad you could make it, Cynthia. I know that sometimes
Cynthia.
Yeah, I know sometimes people can't make it depending on what time it is. So it's nice to see you and nice to see that you're on. We've got Batshit Crazy in the house. Mark Jones, Jonathan Nichols, Gary Sim is here. Hello, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
It's like a reunion here.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, we met up with Gary at For the Love of Horror back in October 2022. It's the first time I've actually met Gary. Same with Darren as well. First time
he's a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah. And that's what we've got just now. So we've got 19 people coming in. That's good.
That's all right. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, it's just going to be a relaxed video. We can talk about anything as long as it's horror related. If it's not, then we can still discuss it anyway. But horror related chat, what's new, the news about horror. I know that Scream is a big thing right now. Halloween, if you're still interested in that, and whatever else. But we've got more people coming in. Marion Harville, Jamie Wilshaw. Good morning, guys, or good afternoon.
Rosie's early. Wow.
Oh yeah, Rosie. Oh, I'm looking at. See, when I look at the chat, I look at it on StreamYard, and then when I look at it on YouTube, I can see that the chat's coming in faster through there.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's true.
I'll try and look at it on the software here because I'm kind of looking off to the side here. It's a bit rude.
Yeah.
I'll try and ignore that.
I've got 2 monitors now, so I'm looking at my laptop monitor and my other monitor. Anyway, yeah, I'll look this way. This way is better. Did you hear the news? I'll just start off by talking random, but did you hear the news? This is strange. In fact, you might have some insider knowledge here, but Scream 6 is being released in 3D. Did you hear that?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Why?
I do know people that have seen it because of the job that I'm in, but I didn't know it was coming out in 3D.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just specific countries, but
I would imagine that given Avatar, a lot of the 3D equipment went back into cinemas for Avatar. And so it's still sitting there. So if there's an opportunity to cash in on the fact that Avatar did so well in 3D, you know, you're right on the heels of it. So I think it's kind of maybe an interesting idea. So I would imagine that's the reason why, because all this 3D kit's still lying around. And let's face it, it's not really going to be used up until the next Avatar release.
Yeah.
So they're probably thinking, oh yeah, there's a gimmick here. Let's jump on it.
That makes sense then. I don't know if they maybe have to rent it.
No. The 3D equipment has been dormant for a while, really. So cinemas have stopped really showing 3D films over the last maybe 4 or 5 years because certainly in the UK, the market's not very good for 3D. So what happened was they kind of recommissioned all that equipment for Avatar. Because obviously James Cameron would have wanted it to be played in 3D as widely as possible. And so it's probably just still sitting there, and there's an opportunity to cash in on using it during this period. So, it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. It's just weird when I saw it. It's 4DX 3D. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if it was a big blockbuster action movie, then yeah, maybe check
Have
it
you
out.
seen a film in 4DX?
Yeah, I seen one film in 4DX, and it was Avengers Endgame that I saw in 4D.
Really?
Yeah,
Because they can be they can be. I mean, I've only seen one 4DX film, and it was enough. And I think that was the second Deadpool film.
right.
Because there's all sorts of stuff being the wind being shot in my face, and then spurts of water and dry ice and all this kind of thing. And it kind of, I think it's interesting to do it just to experience it for the once, but I don't want to be seeing every film like that, getting soaked, having things being peppered in my face, and I just want to go and enjoy the film. I don't want to be a part of it like that.
Yeah,
So
I guess that some people would enjoy it. I think it was okay, but again, like you said, maybe once is enough just to know what it feels like. But if I'm going to be immersed in something like that, I don't want it to be the way it was. I'd rather, like, when let's say they're turning a corner in a car, your seat does this. I'm like, that's just inconvenient. Make me do this. That would make it a lot better. Get a seatbelt on. I think if you're going to go all out, go all out. Don't just give us a little. I'm like, that's just pointless.
Yeah.
Either do it 100% or just
or not at all.
Yeah, not at all. So yeah, 4DX is a bit of a gimmick. I prefer 3D over 4DX because 3D you can choose.
When it's done properly, like with the likes of Avatar, and I think one of the Resident Evil movies that came out a long time ago was actually shot in 3D. So there's a difference between 3D movies being shot in 3D and then converted. And the conversions sometimes, particularly in the early days, were fairly poor. I remember the Clash of the Titans movie was it was just annoying because there was barely any 3D there. But over time, they've kind of got better at the conversions. But you still can't beat a movie that's actually been shot in 3D.
Yeah, I think Resident Evil was shot in 3D.
That's right. Yeah, it was.
Seeing that, you could tell the difference between watching that, whether it was good or bad. Just watching the 3D aspect of that was a lot better than watching something that was just converted. I think the only converted movie that was decent was Titanic because they literally digitized it into 3D.
Yeah. I would imagine that so with Cameron overseeing that, he would have been so particular about it, and they would have spent so much money on it. If you spend time and money on these things, you can make them pretty decent. But if production's running late and they hand it over to a conversion company who kind of spit it out in a matter of days, it stands to reason that it's not going to be as good as something that you've been working on for some time.
Yeah. And I think that's what's going to be like with Scream 6. I think the 3D it's last minute,
It could, you never know. I mean, it could be one of those things that they've been working on for a little while and they've only just gone public on it. So
yeah. It might be. But if you're what you can tell when a film's intended for 3D, like you'll see a scene where you see the stab goes right to the and you're like, oh, that's for us. But if you don't see any of this, then
I know exactly. Is it going to be like Friday the 13th where they were just poking like the poles on the washing line in your face and juggling and things like that? That's when it gets annoying, isn't it? I think it's better when it's more immersive, like Avatar, when someone's just like kind of tickling you under the chin with a I don't know, a feather duster or something just for the hell of it. It's like, why? What are you doing? That's the sort of thing they did in the 50s and 60s. Do you know what I mean? Just to kind of sell the idea of 3D. But
yeah, they don't have like they've already sold the idea because your bum's on the seat, so you don't have to.
Yeah. I don't want to be tickled.
Yeah,
especially not by 4DX as well.
Leave me alone. Let's go to the chat, see what people are saying. Now, as usual, guys, when I'm reading the chat, I'm always 10 minutes behind, so I will be answering questions from 10 minutes ago. We've got Batshit Scary saying 8 a.m. for Frank, right? It is, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So still quite early, especially for a weekend. I don't know if the US are the same as the UK, but the weekend we tend to have time off. Well, I have anyway, but some people don't. I used to work Saturday mornings in Sainsbury's with James McAvoy.
Oh, I remember you saying about that. Was you guys around the same age or something?
No, he's 4 years older than me, but He just left.
He worked in Sainsbury's with James McAvoy.
I know. I was in the produce department, the fruit and veg, and he was the bakery boy. He was working in the bakery.
Did you get on?
I never spoke to him that much. He was just like wee James from the bakery. That was it, wee James, or should have for the guys here, little James.
I once sat in a restaurant in London, and somebody was nudging me, and he was sat at the side of me. It was one of those restaurants where you just kind of sit anywhere, and people sit with strange, you know what I mean, like around a big table. People sit with strangers in there, and he was sat right next to me here. And it was around the time that he did. What was the thing he did with Angelina Jolie and Morgan Freeman? Wanted. It was around the time of that. But that's quite cool, working in Sainsbury's. That's a bit like an Alan Partridge story.
It's actually on my IMDb bio as well. On IMDb,
is it?
Yeah, it says worked in the same supermarket as James McAvoy. There's when he worked there, nobody really spoke that often, especially young guys like us. So it was always wee James, and then we were at break time. If we worked night shift or late at night, at break time we would go and watch TV for 15-20 minutes, and Band of Brothers was on, and we're like, oh, let's watch Band of Brothers. So there's like a few of us from the produce department just sitting watching TV, and then James McAvoy came on the telly, and we're like, that's wee James for bakery. like, no, that's James for bakery, and nobody believed it, so we just ignored it until we saw it on TV again. Like, he worked in Sainsbury's with us. Well, how is he doing that? But then we asked people in bakery, and he says, he's moving to London with his sister, or he moved to London with his sister, Joy. And I'm like, all right, okay, so that's why I didn't. He moved to London.
So he was kind of, was he? I can't remember, but such a long time ago. Band of Brothers, was he an extra in it or something, or like?
No, he was like an actual character. He had an episode
because it was filmed over here, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
It was, yeah. It was all filmed in the UK, I think. So
I think he played Private Miller, I'm sure. And there was an episode. He was only on one episode, but the episode focused on him and some other younger soldiers.
Wow, and he was still working in Sainsbury's.
No, he left Sainsbury's at this point.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant he was still making a brioche out the back.
No.
And
Imagine that. Like, James, come here and see this. No, it's like because he left. We already knew he left at this point, but we didn't know why. And then we asked the bakery guys, like, James, what happened to James? Because he's on TV right now. And they're like, no, he left last year. He moved down to London with his sister. I'm like, all right, okay. That explains why he's on TV. So he was in my cousin's class in school. He went to a school called St. Thomas Aquinas. It's just round the corner from me.
Yeah.
So he was in my cousin's class in school. So we all knew him. Like, we knew him either from school or from work. Yeah. And he was just a nice, quiet guy. And then
what you need to do is you need to go in on Graham Norton in the red chair. Tell this story.
I know, like I worked with James McAvoy. Yeah. I did a couple of years ago. I messaged James McAvoy on Instagram, said, "Hi James, don't know if you remember me, probably not. Fancy coming on my channel? We'll have an interview." But lo and behold, I got no response. I was shocked not to get a response.
There's that idiot from Fruit and Veg.
We hated Fruit and Veg. Always rivals. But yeah, that's my claim to fame.
Excellent.
Even he probably won't remember anybody from bakery. He'll probably remember his boss. That was about it, but he'll not remember anybody else. Anyway, that was a long answer. Sorry.
Good old James.
Yeah. Have you got a claim to fame, Darren?
A few, given the industry that I'm in. So, but I kind of tend not to sort of, go on about it too much. But is there anything I can tell?
Or anything out with your job that you've got a claim that you
let me go. I won't talk about anything recent, but I'll go back to something that's so long ago it won't matter now whether I talk about it or not. But I worked for a little while on Terminator: Rise of the Machines, and I remember going to meet, because we were doing the premiere in Leicester Square, and I remember going to meet the director, a guy called Jonathan Mostow, who did Breakdown and U571. And I went down to the Dorchester Hotel in London to meet him to talk about we were going to rehearse the film that day. And I said, you can come along and sit with us and watch it and make sure you're happy before the event tonight. And I walked into this room, and this guy said to me, just wait there and I'll go get Jonathan for you. And I sat there on my own, and Arnie walked in with a cigar in his mouth. That's how long ago it was. You could actually smoke in hotels at that time. Oof. And he just walked into the room, and he looked at me with this cigar in his mouth, and he went, "What's wrong with you? I'm famous. Get your camera out." And I was like, "Oh, right. Okay." No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And he had this little assistant guy with him. And he said something really weird or something. He said, "What are you doing here?" And I went, "I'm waiting for Jonathan, the director." I said, "I'm just about to take him down to the cinema to do a rehearsal." He went, "Oh, that's good." And he turned around to his assistant and said, "Go get Jonathan." And the guy went, "Yeah, okay, I'll go." And as he was walking off, Arnie just went, he said something really ridiculous, like, I can't remember what it was. And I was like, "Come on, show me your leadership capabilities," or something like that as he walked out of the room. And I was just like, "Oh, for God's sake. Somebody's going to get him anyway." He's just dispatched someone else. But that was kind of a cool moment. That he was so kind of fun and like, just willing to have a laugh with a total stranger. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, that completely overshadows mine. Obliterates mine. I'm going to take that thing off my bio now in IMDb. That's what you could have done though. See, when they said, "What's wrong with you?" you should have said, "Talk to the hand."
Yeah. No, he was cool, and that was just before. I think it was just before he retired to become governor. I think it was kind of like, just the last thing he did, and it was a good success in the UK for us.
There was it's not really, well, it's kind of related because it's got Arnie in it, but I was watching a live stream with one of the guys I've followed for a while called Dan, and he's talking about old canon movies like RoboCop and stuff, and they were talking about Arnie and about how he retired and stuff, and then I remembered that it's almost like a moment where he was confirming his retirement in a film called Welcome to the Jungle. Have you seen Welcome to the Jungle with The Rock?
I worked on that, yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
The scene where they're walking past each other and the club.
It's that kind of handing the baton over type moment, isn't it? Yeah.
And it says "Good luck," so it's almost like, "I'm finished now. It's your turn."
Yeah.
It's quite a bittersweet.
It was.
moment.
I mean, for those that don't know, that Welcome to the Jungle is not the Jumanji film. It's it was called The Rundown in the US, wasn't it? But no one knows what The Rundown means in the UK, and so they changed the title in the UK to Welcome to the Jungle. But I do have one story which I can share, which was really funny, and it's not to do with me, but it was to do with somebody that I know who was in the film industry for a long time, working in film distribution, and he was an older guy but obsessed with Clint Eastwood, and he worked for the company that released one of Clint Eastwood's films, which obviously he does all his films through the same company, so you can figure out who that is. And as a treat for this guy, his manager organized for him to meet briefly Clint Eastwood. And so he went up to this room where Clint Eastwood was working in the offices, and he sat down, and 5 minutes later, Clint Eastwood walked in, and the guy, bless him, just got so overwhelmed by the fact Clint Eastwood was in the room that he started going, "Oh, Mr. Eastwood, I can't believe you're here. This is so fantastic. Mr. Eastwood, I just don't know what to say." And Clint Eastwood apparently leant over in his face and just went, "Neither do I." This is like this guy's dreams of meeting this guy just totally ballsed it up, and Clint Eastwood just kind of dryly came back at it. "Neither do I." Which feels like, oh God, that crushing moment where do you know what I mean? You never really meet your heroes. It doesn't always turn out well.
See, I think I'm at that age where I'd love to meet my heroes, but when it comes to it, I don't really want to seem desperate, but I also don't want to leave my cards hidden. It's hard to explain. Like, see, when I go and see people for the love of horror, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'll see people get up to these stars and going, "Oh my God, I love you so much," blah blah blah, and they're grown adults. But then when I go up to them, they're like, "Oh hi, how you doing?" I can't show my enthusiasm because it feels like I'm desperate, so I just ignore it. I'm just like, you and me, I'm not going to say I love you because you don't know who I am and you don't care that I love you. You know that people love you, so it's fine. So I think it's kind of. I feel like.
I know what you mean. It's odd, isn't it? Because there's a transaction happening there, and
Yeah,
you know, whilst you're kind of paying them to be polite with you and to engage with you, and there's something a little bit kind of, I mean, it's cool if you walk away with the merchandise, and you know, I've got a few pictures myself on the wall which I've signed, but there's still that thing. It's kind of, there's a bit of awkwardness to it because like I say, there's a transaction happening, and it's almost like you're hiring that person for 30 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, so it's ingenuine. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. It does feel slightly disingenuous, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's not like if you walk past them on the street and they say hello to you and you say hello to them, that's a mutual respect. Whereas you're forcing them to say hello to you because you're paying them to say hello.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, would you have even said hello if I didn't give you their £25?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it depends on the situation, I guess.
Although I have to say, when we were at For the Love of Horror, there's that moment where, I mean, I kind of walked in and was a bit overwhelmed because it's so big, and I didn't know the etiquette or anything like that when I arrived, and I was just a bit excited for an hour or two, and there was a moment where Tim Capello from the Lost Boys walked across the floor, and people were just sort of waving and watching and all that kind of stuff, and I just tapped him on the shoulder and I said, "Tim, can I have a photograph?" And at that very moment I thought, shit, he's just going to turn around and say, "Yeah, get in the queue over there," or something, with everybody else who's paying £50 or whatever, whatever the price was. Yeah. And he just went, "Yeah, of course."
Darren.
Oh. Hello?
We're still here.
Am I back?
Hello? Yeah.
Am I back?
It might have been me this time, Darren.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, guys.
Where did I get to in my story?
So you tapped him on the shoulder, and you were expecting him to say, "Get in the
queue." But no, I just said, "Do you mind if I have a photo?" And at that moment, I thought, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. I need to, you know, there's an etiquette here. You need to kind of pay for these things." But he did just fine. He just went, "Yeah, I'm in a bit of a rush, but if you're very quick," and I just got the thing out, put my arm around him, and he had a photograph, and that was great. Yeah. He could have been the complete opposite. Do you know what I mean? But you know, he's got such a good relationship with that con, hasn't he? That I don't think he wants to come off as being dickish ever. And so, because he's kind of almost like a mascot for them now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think you can get people like that. People who are just genuinely happy to be in the limelight, and I think he is. He's one of the good guys. But outside of conventions and stuff, that's what my fear would be, saying to someone, "Oh, hi, James McAvoy, can I get a photograph?" And they'd be like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh my God.
You're the cucumber bloke.
Stay away." You hit me with a tomato once.
I did have when I was a kid, and this would have been in the 80s, mid 80s or something like that, when I would have been about 10 or 12 years old. We were in my hometown in West Yorkshire, and we were at the back of a hotel. We were going for a meal with my family, and Rowan Atkinson walked out. And at that time, he wasn't famous for Mr. Bean or anything. He was famous for Not the 9 O'Clock News, which was a sketch, and Blackadder, which was a sketch show around then. And my grandma was with me, and she went, "Look, there's Black." I think she actually did say, "There's Blackadder over there." And I went, "Oh wow, yeah." She went, "Let's go get his autograph." And I went, "Excuse me, sir, can I have your autograph?" And I had a pen and paper ready and that. And he just looked at me and went, "Not right now, some other time." And I was like a 12-year-old kid, and I just thought, "You git. Do you know, you absolute bastard." And I've never really liked the guy since then. I've always been like, I just know what you're like. Do you know what I mean? You turn around to a 12-year-old kid and told him to sling his hook, basically.
Yeah, that's not nice.
So yeah, I know. And there was no one else around. It was just like him and his girlfriend just walking out of the back of a hotel. It would have took him 20 seconds. Do you know what I mean? To say hello and just sign something. And I just thought, you know, miserable git.
That's rubbish.
Yeah.
I don't like him anymore. Spread the word, guys.
Yeah.
Right, let's see what we've got in the chat. We've got Rosa says, am I the only Yank in here? Maybe.
Possibly.
I think so. unless they're all starting to wake up now. Have I got an echo in your ear, or is it just me?
No.
Have
you got an echo?
It's just a tiny, tiny echo from my side, I think.
There is a echo cancellation.
Yeah.
If you go into audio, there's a tick box there.
Yeah, it's on.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Audio. Echo cancellation, yeah. I don't know if I can maybe hear it from your ears or my own ears. It's not annoying. Just in case it annoys anyone.
I'll turn my audio down slightly, so hopefully that'll help.
That's fine. Right, let's go into the chat so we're not missing anyone out. So yeah, Gary Sims says, I heard it was 2 hours long, the new Scream. Yeah, 2 hours and 3 minutes I heard it is. Which it's not uncommon for a Scream movie. I think Scream movies are genuinely round about 110 to 118 minutes long. So it's
2 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours, 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's decent. You don't want a Scream movie, especially with twists and turns, to be 85 minutes long. You know, you want to get especially with new characters coming in. I think you need a bit of character development, not just in Scream films, but any films that are introducing new characters to a franchise. You don't want to give us an 85-minute movie because you're not going to be able to give us both in character, current characters, giving them the screen time, and then building up new characters. I don't think I spoke to you about Scream yet, Darren, because I know that Frank's not a massive fan of Scream. But what are your thoughts on the new film coming out? You looking forward to it? Are you a big fan of Scream?
I am. I'm one of these people who I don't hate it at all. I can kind of take it or leave it. But I did enjoy the last one, and I'm looking forward to this one. And I'm not a encyclopedia on Scream or anything like that, so I don't know what the validity of a lot of these claims are like. That was it. Were you saying Randy's maybe going to be back in it or something? Is there rumors of that?
No, that's just my.
That's just your theory?
Yeah, I don't mean it's my theory as in that's what I think is going to happen. I was asking people online recently about crazy theories that they've heard of, and people are telling me some theories, and I'm like, well, let me think of some crazy theories that could work and fit into the franchise, and that was just one of the theories that I came up with. But a lot of people are really hating me for it. They're calling me racist and wanting to kill me.
What?
Yeah, it's nuts.
Racist? Why?
I don't know. A guy said, "Oh, you're racist." I'm like, I'm racist, but I don't understand.
What?
Like, I'm racist for thinking Randy is back.
And I had a similar thing, and I told you about it before, didn't I? That because I'd said that Buster Rhymes was the worst character in Halloween Resurrection.
Right, yeah.
A guy was calling me racist because of that. I was like, no, he genuinely is. It's got nothing to do with the color of his skin. It's just that it's an awful performance.
Yeah.
You don't have to be racist to dislike a performance.
But at least your one, at least obviously yours is a ridiculous claim, but at least we know the context of why he's saying it.
Yeah.
Because the character you don't like is black, whereas in mine, I'm racist for thinking that Randy could still be alive. And I'm like, I can't even decipher where you would get. He was obviously just trolling. It has to be trolling. That's all I can think of.
But I tell you, the whole Stu thing. I mean, a lot of people kind of, saying, "Oh, Stu's coming back," and this, that, and the other. And I don't really care whether he does or not. I think there was a point in the last film whereas I wanted him to come back because I felt slightly. I was so convinced that the killer in the last film was going to be somebody that we were familiar with from earlier on. And there was a point where I was just, because weren't we in his house as well at one point? Yeah. So there was a point where I was thinking, well, he's obviously going to walk in now or be unmasked or something. And I was actually wanting it to happen. But it didn't happen. And so I felt slightly disappointed at the end in a kind of weird way.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't bother me if he did come back at all. I just think it's too obvious, although filmmakers do live in a bubble sometimes. Like within the kind of Halloween community for a long, long time, people were talking about the rumor of Michael being controlled by Silver Shamrock wearing one of their masks. And that's been talked about for a long time. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if the whole thing is that Michael is wearing a Silver Shamrock mask and blah, blah, blah. Long time people were throwing that around. David Gordon Green almost did that. And you think, he's talked about it and said that I that's what I was going to do, and amongst all the other ideas he had for endings. And you think you must be way out of the kind of Halloween fan bubble. Do you know what I mean? Because if you'd have known that, you wouldn't have considered it, because it's what a lot of people were kind of throwing around. You kind of try and go different to what the consensus is thinking. Do you know what I mean? It was. So I don't know whether the guys who are radio silence guys are kind of, whether they. I'm sure they must keep abreast of all the fan rumors and comments and things like that, but not to the level that the fans do. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got a film to make. Yeah. And so whether they think the Stu idea is a good idea and they're going to do it, I've no idea. But it wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if within the next two movies that happens. Would you like to see it happen?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think the problem with fan theories is if the filmmakers ignore fan theories, they'll have nothing, because everyone's got a theory on everything. Like, there's a theory on Stu coming back, Jill, Charlie, Richie, every single killer. There's a theory on them coming back. There's a theory on the twists and all that. So if Radio Silence do read everyone's theories and they say, right, we can't use that, then they'll be stuck, because we've all thought of everything. So it leaves them with nothing. So I think with all the theories that are out there, at least one of them's definitely going to be right. And I'm hoping it's Stu, because he was a fan favourite, and he's the only one that didn't die. He died ambiguously. Yeah, he died ambiguously. If he died, he's dead. I know that I get a lot of comments lately with people saying, Kevin Williamson confirmed that Stu's dead, so he's not coming back. Radio Silence confirmed that Stu's dead, so he's not coming back. And I'm like, well, of course, he's dead right now, but they can retcon and bring him back. They're not going to tell you Stu's dead and the next killer is going to be such and such. They just wouldn't do that. They wouldn't tell you who's dead and who's alive. You have to see it as it's happening. So yeah.
I'm like I say, I'm not one of these huge screen nuts or anything, but I'll just go and watch it and let it wash over me. I'll just go and enjoy it, because it's, again, like Halloween. It's good that we have a solid franchise like this and within the genre, and that keeps people chatting and interacting and the excitement levels up. So I know Frank feels completely differently about it, but he'll go see it. Yeah, he'll definitely go. We've already talked about it, and we'll do something on it when it comes around. But he'll go see it. I see Gory Tiger said Bill Hader has a story like that. Yeah, I've seen that, and I think it's like a stock thing that Arnie says to people or something. I think it's this is what Arnie said when I was in that room or whatever, and he's saying Bill Hader has a similar story. Yeah, I've seen that clip, and I think it's just one of those things that he does. It was funny though. It was really funny. But yes, Stu, I'd like to see it. I'd really like to see it.
Yeah, but I prefer the Scream franchise over the Halloween franchise.
You do?
Yeah, because
really,
Well, there's no bad Scream movie, is there?
There isn't. That is true. That
If,
is
I,
true.
if I'm watching them for quality, I will watch Scream. If I'm watching them for nostalgia factor and my love for Halloween, then it would be Halloween. But really, if I'm wanting to watch the Halloween franchise and enjoy it, it's going to have to be a select few movies in the Halloween franchise where I can watch every Scream movie. It all makes sense because it's all one timeline and there's no bad film in the franchise.
Well, number 3 for me.
Even that, you know, but when I was younger, I loved.
But they are at least canon. That's the thing, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
They've not gone off and you know, like other franchises haven't done the standalone movies, or they've tried to retcon it or go a different direction. There is a lineage there, isn't there, that you can follow?
Yeah, and they don't ignore it. They can accept that they maybe made some mistakes, or they know that some aren't as good as others, but they still acknowledge them.
Yeah,
And I think some of the movies get better over time. When I say younger, a few years ago, there was always something about Scream 2 that I didn't like. And I thought, I can't be bothered watching this. But I watched it last year in the lead up to Scream 5. And I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I don't know what it was. It could be the nostalgia hit me, remembering being young again and what I was doing, what I was eating. But just
what was eating?
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time. I just watching it, I'm like, God, that just reminds me of sitting in my bedroom eating a piece of sausage or a sausage sandwich, whatever you call it.
Sat in your bedroom eating sausage? What are you talking about?
Square slice.
Oh, right, okay.
I just watched it.
I do know what you mean, because we covered the whole Scream franchise last year, I think, and I watched a lot of them again, which I hadn't seen since they first came out. And Scream 2, the scene in the car with the car crash and them trying to get out of the car is really tense.
Yeah,
it's a really good moment. But the 1 and 4 were the strongest for me, I think. Yeah, I did like Scream 4.
I mean, I liked it, but I've said this numerous times. It looks like someone rubbed Vaseline on the lens because it's just that foggy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Strange.
No, I did enjoy number 4 because I thought it was kind of, they really upped the game on the horror elements of it. I think in Scream 4 it was pretty gory. Nasty, wasn't it? Yeah.
And you'll know this, that was the first 15 rated movie in the franchise in the UK, but it was the goriest. Strange.
Has it been rated in the UK yet? The
new one?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll probably be 15.
Let me find out for you.
While you're reading that, I've got a super chat come in, and it's from Andrew Stevens. Hello, Andrew. That's one of your guys as well, I think, Darren.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Hey, Andrew.
Hello, Andrew. Andrew says, Barry, you dropped this $10. Here you go. Hey, Darren, make sure to patch your pocket so this don't happen to you again. Thank you very much, Andrew. I will not be doing that, though. I'll just keep letting people drop $10 for me. Thanks for the support, Andrew. You should have asked a question as well, Andrew. Maybe come in with another one.
He's a good guy.
Not another super chat, another question.
It doesn't look like it's got a rating yet, just the trailer.
All right. Rosie said, wish they had Magic Mike in 3D. I've not seen any Magic Mike movie.
Can you imagine? Or 4DX?
Oh, jeez. All the women would go and see that.
Oil thrown around and everything.
Deep oil. Have you seen it's kind of off topic, but have you seen they're doing a trailer for Fast and the Furious 10 next week? But in the lead up to it, this is good marketing though. In the lead up to it, 9 days before it, they showed the Fast and Furious saga trailer. And then the next day they've shown the 2 Fast and Furious. And then yesterday they showed Tokyo Drift trailer. And then obviously today it'll be Fast 4.
What, just to say, are they recut trailers? Or
the recut like a kind of saga trailer just to kind of get you pumped up for the 10th one. So over the next 9 days, they're going to show each film trailer.
That's interesting.
So where do
they go with Fast 10? What are they in space?
Well, they went into space in the last one.
Oh, did they? I didn't see the last one.
Well, you missed it then. Yeah. Well, when I say they went into space, they went outside the atmosphere
Near that balloon.
No, it was a car.
No, I mean near the balloon that's floating around America at the moment. Have you seen this?
No.
So there's now 3. So it's 60,000 feet in the air. There's a balloon that's been found, and it's gone all the way over fly zones in the US, and apparently it's Chinese, and it's obviously doing some sort of spying. But China is saying, "Oh no, it's a weather balloon that's gone off course," But like they've now found another 2, one in South America and one in Canada.
Wow.
So, and it's like, well, just shoot the fucking things down, why not just? But then I guess the Chinese will be saying that's an act of aggression or something like that. So it seems like what the Americans are doing is they're just going to milk it and use it as a kind of as a tool to sort of go public and say, look, this is what China are doing. But they've admitted to it. But it's these balloons are the size of 3 double-decker buses.
Wow.
So yeah. So that's so maybe Vin Diesel's hanging off of one of them. I don't know.
Well, you can use them for Fast 10.
Yeah. Spy balloon, says Gory Tiger. You're right.
We've got Colin Murdy in the house. Hey, Darren and Barry. Thanks, Darren, for the birthday greeting on Facebook earlier. Much appreciated, Old Bean. Well, I will have to say happy birthday to you just now, Colin, because I didn't know that. Happy
birthday.
Happy 20th.
Yep.
It was my birthday in December. When's your birthday?
November.
You're a month older than me then. Yeah. We've got Cynthia J coming in. Do you think they should do Evil Dead Rise in 4D? Or 4D?
Oh,
or,
God.
imagine
4DX.
That. Yeah, imagine that. Like,
I'm really looking forward to.
What they could do in that is if they'd done 4DX but made it selective only in the woods, the camera. So it just goes,
yeah.
That'd be pretty good. And that's the only time they do it, and then that's it, done.
Or the blood coming out the hole in the wall as well with the
in your face.
That would be yeah.
You looking forward to it?
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm always looking forward to an Evil Dead movie because that's another franchise that hasn't given us a bad one yet. But before I saw the trailer, I thought, I'm looking forward to it. I'll go and see it. And then when I saw the trailer, I'm like, holy shit, this looks brilliant. So it might not be good, but again, the worst. Do you know, to me, you probably disagree with me here. I think the worst Evil Dead movie is the first one, but it's still brilliant.
Really? I think Army of Darkness is because it's so. I mean, it depends on what you were brought up on. I always remember as a kid seeing the original when it first came out, and being absolutely blown away by it. And it got banned in the UK, and so we weren't allowed to see it for some time. And then eventually 2 came out in 87. I remember seeing that and thinking this was terrific as well. When the third one came out, and I think it was like 92, or it was on the shelf for a long time there was a dispute over the rights, and I think the company that made it went bust or something. And so it took some time for it to be released, particularly in the UK. And when it came out, I was just like a bit deflated because it was tonally something completely different to what we've seen in the 2 movies previously. It was kind of a more comedic tone. It was, set in that medieval era. There were only kind of a few moments in there, particularly earlier on in the movie, that sort of reminded me of what we'd had before. And then you have all these moments where there's kind of 12 ashes running around, these miniature guys, and it was just like, what are we watching here? But over time, I've come to kind of enjoy it, but not as much as the original 2. And then I loved the TV shows. I thought they were just, they were a bit kind of, it kind of went on probably a season too long because all the episodes were kind of pretty much the same, weren't they?
I've not seen the TV show.
Oh, it's terrific.
Yeah,
it is well worth watching. He's just having the time of his life. The effects and gore are off the scale. It's just fun, like the second movie. It's it's got that tone all the way through it. So yeah, it's well worth a watch.
I think my introduction to the Evil Dead was Army of Darkness. That was the first one I watched.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't know.
That.
So I didn't know that wasn't the benchmark because that was the first one. And then when I watched the first one, I thought it was good, but it was very dated at the time I watched it, because I must have watched it in the mid-90s, just after Army of Darkness. So it was already 15 years old almost. And then I watched Evil Dead 2. I'm like, this is a lot better than Evil Dead 1. It's almost like a rehash, but with better effects and better acting. So I always put Evil Dead at the bottom, but it was still good. I still really liked it.
Yeah.
But, and then obviously the remake came out, and that blew me away. I think the remake is the best one. Personally.
Yeah. The remake's good. The remake's great fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of more serious in tone, isn't it? And but that girl, what she goes through in this film, film is fantastic. And those final moments when she's caught under the tire or something, or
under the car.
Under the car, yeah. Terrific stuff.
I just came there last week. 4K.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
excellent.
4K. So I'll be checking out in 4K. As soon as I saw the trailer for Evil Dead Rise, I'm like, I'm buying this on 4K. Even though I've got the Blu-ray.
It's good fun. It is good, really good fun.
Yeah, I love it. We got another super chat through from Cynthia J, but she never said anything, unfortunately. But she sent in $1.99. So thanks again.
She Cynthia. Does ask a question lower down near the bottom. Shall I read it out?
Yeah, because I can't see it yet.
Okay, she says, what old horror movies would you like to see get remade? I would like Scarecrows, 1988, and Demons. Demons would be good.
Is that the one in the theatre?
Yeah.
That's Italian one. Scarecrows would be a good one. Have you seen Scarecrows?
I've never seen it. I've seen Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, which is bloody brilliant.
Oh yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
You should check out Scarecrows. I've got it on Blu-ray as well. It's the 88 films / classics collection.
Okay.
It's a great film. It's a bit.
Is it really? Okay.
Oh, it's so eerie. I rented it when I was a kid in the video store all the time on VHS, and it's about this convicts. Like they steal money. I think it is. They steal money from a bank or something, and they're escaping on a plane, but they have to crash land. I can't remember if they crash land or have to emergency land, but they land in a cornfield, and all the money scatters all over the place. So they have to get all the money, and there's a wee cabin and stuff in the area that they're in, but there's something happening in the cornfield, and it's so eerie. It's really, really good. And even though it's 1988, so it's a really old film, but even watching it today, it's aged very well.
Yeah,
and it's not it's not like one of those cheap films that you see from 1988 that's been filmed on somebody's camcorder and it looks really bad. But this one, it's got a good quality feel to it, like almost like Hollywood, like it's cost a big budget. You should check it out.
Okay,
definitely.
I'll take a look at that. I also remember do you remember? I don't know if you remember Ritz Video in the UK. This was before Blockbuster.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember that being. What year was it? 88. Yeah, I remember it being on the shelf there. I remember the cover as well. I shall check that out.
It's the cover that draws you in. You know, the scarecrow in the background.
Yeah.
I think that's what most films back in the 80s, they had to advertise good cover art. Otherwise, you ain't going to want to pick that up. And that's why movies like Fright Night, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, The People Under the Stairs, all those movies with those figures above the house.
Yeah.
You're picking that up because no matter what.
That.
Yeah. Obviously, me as a 10-year-old, I would look around, go to the horror section, look at the back covers for the boobies. I'm like, nope. My mum and dad like, what are you doing?
They did used to do that, didn't they? There would be on VHS covers in the 80s, there would be nudity on the back covers.
On all of them, yeah. Almost all of them,
yeah.
That's how they sell it to you. That's the only way they could do it because there was no internet. No, you don't get access to trailers everywhere, and that's it. So
yeah,
that's how they sell it, and it worked.
But it was everywhere at that point, wasn't it? Even the daily newspaper would have topless girls in it and things. I mean, and that's only kind of, they've only put an end to that in the last kind of 6 years or 7 years or so.
Yeah, well, the Sun don't do page 3 anymore, do they?
They don't do it now. They've stopped doing it, and it's only, like I say, it's not that long ago when they stopped. So yeah.
Times are changing.
We've
got a question from G. Ashraf. Question for you two. Do you think they should have killed Laurie Strode in the 2018 movie? Just felt the character got dragged along more than necessary and got fed up of the trauma narrative. Trauma. If it was going to be that one and done movie, I wouldn't have minded. But I think with the movie of her return after 40 years, or at least 9 years for a Halloween movie, they have to test the water first and see how fans react. And because the movie made $255 million, they automatically think it's all because of Laurie Strode. And I think a good part of it is. So I think she should have died, but not in 2018. I think it would have been better for her to die in either kills or ends. What were you, Darren?
I actually thought that she was going to die at the end. When she steps over into that bloody mincing machine, I thought, she's going to go in with him here. She's going to kill herself, or he's just going to come to at the last moment and drag her in with him. I honestly thought that was going to happen. I would have been cool with that. Because it's still left open, isn't it? It's not. I didn't see the Halloween. I saw Halloween ends as finite in terms of Michael Myers, but I didn't see Halloween ends finite in terms of the shape.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It does, yeah, because she says it at the end as well. Was it something about taking shape? So it's almost like she's saying she's not beat evil; she's just beat one of the bodies that evil was in.
Yeah,
and it's still out there. So there's still that unresolved in our mind.
Didn't one of the endings have her? Did the evil transfer into her or something? There was. I read about this, which was. Or was it? Maybe it was on Wham or something like that. I can't remember now. But one of the endings had Frank coming to the house, and she was like whatever Corey had transferred into him, it had gone into her, and so the ending was that she got killed or she commits suicide or something like that. That was one of the suggested endings.
I never heard of that.
You didn't heard that one?
No.
I'm trying to think where I'd heard of it now. Chat room, if you've heard about that ending, then let me know. But I definitely, maybe it was the writer, because the writer was on Wham, the writer of the novel.
Yeah, that's right.
The screenwriter. He was talking through a lot of the things that they were going to do, and I'm pretty sure that Laurie catching the evil at the end was going to be one of the endings that was suggested.
But no offense to anyone who's in the chat who's ever said this to me on my channel, but see, when I get comments on my channel that say, "Oh, that can't have happened because in the novel," I just ignore the rest of the comment because some people can't differentiate a novel to a movie. It's sort of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and comic books. They're not the same. So when someone says, "Oh, but in the novel," I'm like, next. I can't read it because the amount of times I said to them, but the novel is separate to the movie, and they say, but it's the same writer. I'm like, that's fine. Stephen King writes. So I have to ignore it. I just can't. There's only so many times you can answer a question. Dream Villain says Barry's not racist. Controversial on Twitter, but that's why we love and respect him. I'm not controversial on Twitter, am I? I wouldn't say so anyway.
I do like your when you out people on Twitter. I think that's pretty fun.
I like it
because there are a lot of bigots out there, aren't they? That have a go at you because of your accent and things like that. Yeah. And I just read some of that stuff and I go, what are these people thinking when they?
Yeah. It's, in fact, I don't think I've said it live, but recently, because I've been doing a lot of Scream 6 content, I'm getting people saying, he's saying Scream 6. And I'm like, no, I'm saying Scream 6. Listen, if you guys are in the chat now, listen to the difference. 6. It's, to me, in my accent, that's clear as day. But if someone can only hear 6, it's because they're trying to listen to me in their accent, which is, how do you get your head around that? You can't. I hear you, Darren, as an Englishman. I don't try and decipher. I don't try and think of you as you're trying to speak Scottish or Glaswegian.
No, exactly.
You can't. So if someone tries to do that and they can only hear Scream 6, then I'm like, how do you even listen to people if all you can hear is your own accent? That's so bizarre how people do that. I mean, I can understand any accent as long as it's English, because I speak English. So I just need to know you're from England, so you're speaking with an English accent. But yeah, that's just one of the things.
It does amaze me when people write to you like that and then unsubscribe because they say they can't understand what you're saying and all this sort of stuff. It's like, grow up, for God's sake.
Yeah. Or if they get an opinion that's not the same as mine and they block me, even though I've never heard of them, or they say I'm unsubscribed. I'm like, that's fine. Like, you don't have to tell me. It's when people say I need to unsubscribe to you, I'm like, just do it. Don't tell me.
Go.
Yeah, I'm not telling you to subscribe and stay. I'm happy that people subscribe, but I don't do this to get to any milestone. Milestones are great, but all I want to do is talk about horror films with anyone who's willing to listen.
Yeah.
And I love a debate. You know, if someone disagrees with me, I love to hear the reasons as to why, and we'll have a great debate. But see, when someone says you're wrong, I'm like, I'm not wrong. It's just my opinion. Like when people say you're wrong, Randy's dead, I'm like, probably is, but it's my opinion that there could be a theory that he could still be alive for these reasons. But you don't have to call me racist. You don't have to call me an idiot. You don't have to call me names. Just disagree and walk away. Simple as that. Yeah.
Did you see that Lee posted a video about George Wilbur last night? And he was kind of paying tribute to him on his channel because he, Halloween 4 was a big film for him, and he loves the performance that George Wilbur put in that film and in 6 as well. And he said he had to kind of go online last night and just say, what's up with you guys? Like, because there was some real horrible comments about George Wilbur in the on his videos, and you're saying, like, what, the guy's barely cold, do you know what I mean? And you're making these comments about him just because you didn't like him as Michael Myers. Show some bloody respect, for crying out loud. It does stagger me that people can be like that.
It's because they're hiding behind a laptop,
of course,
a phone.
Of course.
It's a shame. And again, that's a minority. When we're talking about this, it's like 1% of the community. The rest of the community are great. They're supportive and they love it. And the guys here as well talking. We're all
we've been very fortunate with not having too many. Well, we barely get any people that behave like that, because I think the tone of our shows as well are we're just kind of having a giggle all the time and never taking any of it too seriously. So you do get the odd person who's like, you guys are talking shit and all this kind of stuff, and you just like, hide, get out, go on. If you want to come to us and explain why you think we're talking shit, and like you said, let's have a chat about it, but don't just throw diatribe around like that for no reason.
Yeah, it's for attention, and that's why I give them the attention. I'll get people saying, you're this, you're that, blah, 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 and then I'll screenshot it and post it, because that's what they want. They want my attention, so I've given them my attention, and then they'll comment saying, why are you doing that? You're giving me a bad name. I'm like, well, you want to be given a bad name, otherwise you wouldn't be doing that. Is that not what you want? It's the attention that you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's the attention that you're getting. So, but again, my channel, your channel, we don't have anything political on our videos.
No.
Something that would say, oh, you need to vote for America or UK, that kind of stuff. It's nothing like that. Politics, gender politics, racial politics, all that
and
stuff.
That's the whole thing. People come and to watch our stuff to get away from all of that. It's not a place for any of that stuff. And then if we ever see it, you know, our mods just kind of jump on it straight away and block it out. But now and again, you will get people that try and cause a political debate on there, and says he who started bringing up USA China earlier on. But but no, we just nip it in the bud. It's not a place where people come for chat like that at all.
Yeah, and I think that's why your channel stays in a good stead. Like when I upload videos, you're obviously going to get your dislike.
Why do people do that?
Don't know. But generally, my videos get about 97% likes. You know, they're about 97. So it means that most people who watch my videos like it. But I actually see posts on Twitter and other social media dedicated to getting the dislike button back on YouTube. And I'm like, why do you want a dislike button? If you dislike it, don't watch it. I don't understand why people need to have a dislike. Like, why?
Do you mean the dislike as in the number of dislikes?
Yeah, people want to see them back.
Yeah.
Like, for what reason? Why? So you can show people that you'd hate a video?
You've clicked the button. We know that you dislike it. We can see how many have disliked it. But it's we're the same as you. It's maybe 1 or 2, 3 tops per video.
Yeah.
And it's probably the same person sat there going, "Oh, this will fucking show them." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but I only
dislike.
get, I don't know if you get it as well, but I only get my dislikes about within 10 minutes of uploading the video. Once that's done, then it's just all likes after that. So I think people have got the notification bell on. They get the video, they dislike it, and then they go and do their thing. I'm like, that's fine, because you're still clicking on my video. It's great.
We had one guy reach out recently and say, I love watching your stuff, but I really don't like the fact that you spend 10 minutes saying hello to all your chat room before you get to the subject. And it's like, why? Just skip through it then if you want. Do you know what I mean? It's like, these are the people that are keeping us going. It's polite to say hello to them every episode and interact with them. I'm sorry that doesn't suit you at all, but we're not going to stop doing it.
I know. Like, people actually subscribe. They want to interact with you.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, they're not going to go, "Hi, guys, let's ignore everyone," as we're doing just now. I need to go back to the chat. But yeah, you want to interact with people.
Of course, yeah. It's one of the best. It's one of the things that we love about doing this is the fact that there are people watching us, asking us questions, paying you compliments, you know, and contributing to the channel. We're not going to sit there and ignore these people at all. We've got a really, really solid following. It's this 9 times out of 10, you know all those names that are in there, and as soon as someone comes in that you're not familiar with, you're like, "Oh, that person's new. Hey, we haven't seen you here before." You know, make them feel welcome.
Exactly.
So it's a big part of doing this, a really important part of doing this.
Well, we've got Aaron Click says, "I think Laurie dying is too glamorized, too wished for. I'm glad they let her live on, and to have a now somewhat normal life." I mean, that is, if you're a Laurie fan, I think that's a nice way to end her story, because she's got Frank, who she might end up with. You never know. So yeah, I think if you're looking for a nice, happy ending for Laurie herself, then I think it was a decent ending for her as a character. But I think if people were rubbed the wrong way with Laurie and the whole trauma situation, I think maybe they wanted to see her die. Me, I didn't mind if she'd lived or died, as long as we had an epic finale with her and Michael, which we unfortunately didn't get. But I still think we've got more positives from Halloween Ends than negatives. But again, I try and look at the positives more than the negatives. When was it? October? But now in February. I've actually got a video scheduled for later this month. It's already uploaded, talking about Halloween Ends and how I thought about it.
Wow, but how far ahead are you with your?
I've always got at least 3 or 4 videos
uploaded, ready to go.
Uploaded, ready to go.
Jeez.
I schedule my year.
Year? I don't know what I'm doing next.
I've got I schedule my year. Obviously, it doesn't go to plan. I schedule the year, and I always film the week, so I'm always a week in advance. But like
Unless
yourself,
something breaks that you want to,
yeah, if something breaks, then I have to do it there and then. But for when I go on holiday, for example, I can't have the channel having nothing for 2 weeks.
yeah,
Otherwise, the algorithm would just go all the way down. So
yeah.
I'm going to wait at the end of March for 10 days. So I'm going to have at least 3 or 4 videos scheduled for during that time so that the channel continues to stay in the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah.
Oh no,
but
we would certainly do that if I was away or Frank was away. We would pre-record and get them lined up. And when I'm on holiday, I just kick them off when I'm ready. You know, in terms of, we've got a rough idea of what we're going to do over the next week or two, because we know we've got some Patreon fulfillments and the watch along to do, and we're recording with the guys at All the Good Names Are Taken tomorrow. So we kind of have a kind of, I guess, idea of what we're doing for the week. But I'm kind of one of these people who likes to test the water and not have, do you know what I mean? Just feel what it's like before we record something, whether it feels right to do this following this, rather than have everything mapped out. Because if something doesn't work, then you've got to kind of change course slightly. But yeah, we kind of just sort of communicate every other day and say, hey, what about this for this Friday? And, you know, we never kind of agree on the first idea. We sort of, I'll suggest something, or Frank will suggest something, and then I'll come back. But how about we do it this way, or let's do it like this, and we meet in the middle somewhere. So
yeah,
it's never mapped out over the year. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I think it's harder for you guys because there's 2 of you.
Yeah.
And you're at the other side of the world, so it will be harder for you guys. Whereas me, like I said, my year plans out, and it's now February, and my whole schedule's changed like 6 or 7 times for the year because of things that have happened over the year. So it's always a rough plan of what I want to do. You get your usual February time, you want to do some sort of Valentine kind of stuff, like My Bloody Valentine. Then April Fool, you want to get April Fool's Day. Then you get summer movies like Summer Camp, Friday the 13th, The Burning and stuff.
Yeah.
You go into October, you want to get Halloween, and then you get Christmas horror films. So you kind of map it out that way, and then you kind of pinpoint certain things that you want to do, but it changes like the wind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So as much as I do plan out the year, it's never concrete because it always changes. But going back to the reason for that chat, Halloween Ends. It's been a few months now. Do you still think it's good? Do you still think?
I'm okay with it. And I was certainly okay with the way I actually liked the idea of Michael kind of getting weaker. I didn't mind that whatsoever. I thought it had to come to an end, and to kind of, you know, for him to, it almost feels to me like he's dying off throughout the whole film. He gets that burst of energy within the last, you know, half hour or whatever. But I loved the fact that it was kind of grounded and simple, and it wasn't somebody throwing a rocket launcher at him or something like that. It was just a slow severing of his arteries and his neck and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was a really cool idea, and kind of what they had filmed, I guess, in the 2018 version when he was going to die. He just bled out, didn't he? He sat down and bled out. That was what was going to happen, which I hope we see one day. But no, I was happy with it, and I would have been happy if they'd have just left it there. I didn't need to see him being paraded through the town like that and thrown into a mincing machine. I think what they should have done was just bled him out on the counter there and set fire to him and watched him burn. That would have been fine for me, and it would have been more palatable than the whole town, like with pitchforks going down the street and everything, with him on the top of the car like a crucifixion of some sort. I just felt it was just something we didn't need to see.
Yeah, I think it changed the tone yet
Mm.
again for the film. I think tonally it was all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still stand. I got the 4K a couple of weeks ago, and I made my wife watch it for the first time, and
You
she
made
does.
her?
Yeah, she didn't want to see 2018 Halloween, but I dragged her to the cinema to see it, and she liked it.
Yeah.
And then she didn't want to see Halloween Kills, but I made her watch it one day, and she liked it. And I thought, I have a funny feeling she's really going to like Halloween Ends because it's not your typical Halloween film. And I tried to tell her that. She's like, it's just so boring. They're all the same. And I said, right, I'm sticking Halloween Ends on. You can watch it if you want, or you can sit on your phone. So I put it on, and she was on her.
Or you can sit on your phone.
Yeah. So I put it on, and literally within 10 seconds, her phone was down, and she was watching it all the way through. And she said, I really enjoyed that. That was really good. I said, what'd you like about it? And she's like, oh, it's the relationship between Alison and Corey. It was interesting. And I know people see films as black and white, and they think if there's a couple in a film, it's automatically a romantic comedy. But it's not. It's good. I've not seen anything like that in a Halloween film ever.
Yeah.
The closest we got to that was Rachel and Brady, but that was a kind of on-off relationship.
Yeah.
But you never really got anything as deep as that, especially with someone who's turning bad. No, it's not got Michael Myers as much as that, and it's not really a Michael Myers centric movie. But if you have to critique the film for what it was, it's a great film. It's got tension. It's got a story arc. It's got great score, great cinematography. How anyone can say something with all those points could be the worst film of the year, it's just wishful thinking. It's over exaggerating their discontent for the film. Yes, it's not what you wanted, but that because it's not what you wanted doesn't make it
a bad film.
Yeah, it just makes it a film that you didn't get what you want, and that's
Yeah,
it. And I didn't get what I want. I wanted the epic finale. I wanted a bigger finale than we got in H2O, but we didn't get it. Was it the worst film? Absolutely not. Was it the best? No, wasn't the best either. But just because it's not the best doesn't mean it's the worst, and vice versa.
Yeah. It was the whole thing was a shame because we'd seen so much of that kitchen fight in the trailers that they were pushing.
Yeah.
If it had kind of spilled out into the street and like the original Halloween film where they're kind of she's been chased between the two houses. If something like that had have happened and it had carried on for another 5 minutes or so at least, then I would have accepted that more than I accept the mincemeat machine or whatever it was he was put into. I just wanted it's over and done with so quickly. And I know that it must have been when you watch the behind the scenes stuff, she does really go through it, doesn't she? And being thrown around and thrown into that cabinet and everything. And it is her doing it. And I don't know if you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
The physical stuff she does in that film is great too.
I think she tries to do
as
more
much as she can. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
There was not only did we get a lot of that fight scene in the trailer, I don't know if you remember, we also got a 1 minute clip, exclusive clip. I think it was the Spanish Universal, but it was literally a minute of Michael Myers going to the microwave beeping.
Yes, I remember. Yeah,
and I'm like, why are they showing that whole 1 minute? And it's official. It wasn't even leaked. It was just an official 1 minute clip.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, if they're showing a minute of the build up of that, showing part of the fight in the trailer, this must be a good 15-minute fight. But no, it was literally what we saw. So I think that was the disappointing part, whereas the best bits of Michael were actually shown in the trailer.
But the thing is that, and film companies can be guilty of doing things like that. If that attracts people into the cinema,
well,
job done. It's that with it being the last film of the franchise or the last film that Blumhouse are doing, I don't think they're going to bother much. It's just we need to get people in. How do we do it? And the only thing they really had to pull upon that's of any kind of a tense sort of action sequence or whatever is that moment, because there isn't really any others within the film that you can put online without it going into huge amounts of gore or do you know what I mean? You have to be considerate as to what they put out there. So
yeah. Can you imagine the only scene they showed in the trailer of Michael's when he was doing his Hulkamania? Like, oh. They should have put the Hulk music on.
Yeah. That honestly, that scene, and also the bit when there's just that shot looking down the tunnel, and they're kind of going backwards and forwards, in and out of view. I was like, what the freaking hell is going on here? It was like some sort of Benny Hill sketch where they were just running backwards and forwards past the camera.
It seems like David Gordon Green gives us something like that in every Halloween film. Like, you got it in the first one with the Sartain, with the mask.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's almost like putting those scenes in, you cringe when you watch it. You're like, oh, you did do that.
There's a distraction in all three films of some sort, be it Sartain or the Mr. Tivoli stuff in Halloween Kills, and then I guess the whole Corey Cunningham arc in Halloween Ends. It's something out of the ordinary to what the Halloween fans are used to. It's just stopping it being that kind of, by numbers linear slasher movie, which they've had to do, I guess, to kind of. The first one was reviewed so well, and I think what he tried to do was do something different in each of the films, not only to kind of to appease the critics. I think, even though it didn't work, he had to keep it fresh and to keep people from saying it's just the same as the last one. If we'd had three films where it was just Michael chasing Laurie for three films, then he would have been berated a hell of a lot more than what he has been. Do you know what I mean? And also, I think with the third one, he was probably so conscious about the fact that I'm moving on to The Exorcist next. I've got to try and do something different with this. I can't just deliver a by the numbers slasher film. I need to try and spice it up in some way. Whether it works or not is open to debate. But he delivered two films which are rotten on the bounce. But it wasn't for want of trying, I don't think.
Well, I think one thing he knows how to do is good character development. It's, even with Corey coming in at the last minute, he was a character that I cared about most, one of the most in the whole trilogy. So I think if he takes something like that to the Exorcist trilogy, we can maybe care about new characters in the Exorcist trilogy, because all we want to know about is Regan, and all we want to know about is Regan's mother. So new characters that are coming in, you're like, okay, this is going to be boring unless he can give us something like the arc that we got with Corey. So I don't think it's a bad idea that he directs the Exorcist movies, but
I don't. I question why they're doing it. I know why they're doing it, obviously for money, but I mean, there's such an insane amount of money that's changed hands for this. I just don't know if they need to do it. I just think it's so highly regarded. A lot of people cite it as one of the best films ever made. There's only one direction that it can go for him, and that is it's not as good as the original. I don't know. And three films, I mean, probably maybe they're going to tie it up with make it ambiguous at the ending, like they did with Halloween 2018, so that if it didn't work, it still sits there as a standalone movie. I can't see that they won't have Linda Blair in this at all. I just don't. I know she's come out and said, "Oh, I wish everybody well," and blah blah blah, and I'm fine with it. And that's your cash cow is bringing her back. If you're not going to do it, then that sounds insane. And I can't see that she would have turned around and said, "I don't want to do it," because I can't see what else she's doing at the moment. It might not be straight away, but I think at some point within those three films, we will see her pop up, I think.
That's if she's got time. She does. I think she does like an animal retreat thing now, where she's got dogs, cats and dogs, like strays and stuff like. She does a lot of good.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
no, I mean, what is she doing? What else is she doing within
no,
the
I don't mean
film
that.
industry? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think she's maybe done with it. But I was just looking online there. The Exorcist made $428 million at the box office, and most of that was made in the 70s.
So for adjusted for inflation, it's a
A big amount.
$1 billion movie.
Yeah. So that's the reason why they're wanting to make 3. But I think it's almost like they've lost touch with reality. Do they think that it's going to make $1 billion? It's obviously not.
Well, it needs to. I think, doesn't it? I think what did they pay? 400 million for the rights to 3 films? I think it was.
So the budget's going to have to be like $2 million each, because they can't put. Yeah, I can imagine the budgets will be about $40 million ish, like Conjuring style budgets.
Yeah.
But I mean, the last Exorcist movie didn't make much at the box office. In fact, they brought it out twice. The Exorcist: The Beginning. Christ, what was it called again? Remember the one with Stellan Skarsgård?
Oh, the Beginning, and the other one was oh God, what's his name now? Who wrote Taxi Driver? Schrader. Paul Schrader directed the other one. Yeah, that was a real. We made a bad film, so let's make it again, and then made an even worse film.
Oh, that's it. So in August 2004, we had The Exorcist: The Beginning.
That's right. Was that the Paul Schrader one? And then Rennie Harlin did the other, didn't he?
No, Rennie Harlin done both of them. Did they not? Because it's the one. It's the same film. It's just been cut differently.
I thought it was pretty much reworked, reshot on everything. I thought.
No, it's the same characters, the same footage. So they had Exorcist: The Beginning in August 2004, and then on.
So who was the director on the first one?
Rennie Harlin. And then in May 2005, it was renamed The Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. Do you remember that?
And what was the director of that? Was that Rennie Harlin as well?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Paul Schrader started directing. Maybe Rennie Harlin took it over.
Paul Schrader. Let's see. This is annoying me now if I don't check. Director. Here we go. Oh, you're right. So Dominion. So Paul Schrader done the Dominion. So he took it off of Rennie Harlin's hands and recut it. So did he shoot some more footage?
I from what I can gather, they're both different movies, I think.
It's the same actors though. You get Gabe.
Yeah. Oh no, I get that. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, here we go. Carl God says Schrader directed it originally. Harlin directed a total reshoot. Schrader's was later released as Dominion. So the whole thing was reshot as a different movie.
I'm going to have to watch both of them now because I went to the cinema to see it. But the one
one of them's a bit. If I remember rightly, and it's a long time since I've seen them, one of them's pretty dull, and the other one they try to make more of a kind of, not Indiana Jones, but a kind of more of an adventure type film with what's his face, Stellan Skarsgård.
So that's the one I saw in the cinema. The one that's like Indiana Jones.
Yeah. The other one's a little bit more serious and boring.
Well, the good one then is the one that was directed by Rennie Harlin.
Yeah.
And he's one of the worst directors ever.
Yeah. I don't know. I disagree with that.
Well, maybe. Do you know the director U-Bowl?
Oh, Uwe Boll.
Uwe Boll is that? I call him U.
He's not that bad. Rennie Harlin did Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger. Yeah. What else did he do? Deep Blue Sea, which is great fun. He's done some good stuff.
Well, he's obviously
Cutthroat Island, I think. Did he do that? I think he did, yeah, because that's where he married Gina Davis, didn't he? I'm pretty sure.
Maybe I was too harsh.
I know what you mean. I think with a budget, I think he's okay, but he's unfortunately over the years he's just been given really low budget movies to make, and it's just he's director for hire, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, here's a good. This is something that people forget. Cynthia J said, I would like for them to capture more KE. I don't know what that means, sorry. And just locked up. Let him die of old age. What's up with him staring out the window? Yeah, so remember the built-up Halloween kills with the window scene?
Mm.
They even went back to 1963. 1978, and talking about, all he does is stare out his window. So we're like, okay, there's a connection then. They're going to explain why he goes to his window.
And did nothing with it.
Then it's done. It even ended with him staring out the window in Kills.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, this window scene, as much as I don't want them to explain it, they're going to do something. And then they didn't. So I'm glad they didn't explain it. But at the same time, what the heck was all that about?
I think there was one or two things like that they kind of just left behind, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. I honestly think that they got so far with it, and we know that it initially was supposed to be, the third one was supposed to be in the same night, wasn't it? It said that people were quoted as saying that right back in 2018 or 2019, whenever they announced the sequels. And I think they got so far with it and just thought, we're just going to be rehashing old ground if we carry on with another slasher film the same night, and decided to go a different direction altogether. I don't buy that. You know, he was saying in his interviews afterwards, "Oh, it was always our plan to do something different for the third one." Why? It makes no sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't at all. Laurie's leaving that hospital at the end of the film to go and confront him.
Yeah,
and what happens? We just flash forward 4 years, and there's no one's nervous about the fact that he's still out there missing. You get very little in the way of wanted posters or anything like that. I know there's the odd missing poster that's posted around, but it's like the town has just kind of accepted the fact that he's out there and they've got on with their lives. I think, it just feels really odd that she's come to terms with it and she's all happy, and that mad moment in you just want to rip out your tits and do this, that, and the other. I just thought that's so un-Laurie like. Yeah, I actually really dug the opening scenes with her just kind of pottering around the house, because it felt like Laurie from the 70s. It really did, from the original film. But then when she just had that outburst like that, I was like, wow, that's not what I was expecting at all from that character.
One thing I found weird as well, you've mentioned a little bit about it, is nobody's fussed about Michael not being there. Nobody's fussed about where he is, and they don't care, and they're walking about the streets. But then they all get together at the end to take him to his death, to take him to squash. So I'm like, if everybody remembers him and everybody's worried about it and talking about it, why aren't people like going, "Oh, don't go out yourselves," because remember Michael Myers might still be out there? Nobody ever mentions that.
And he was in the town all the time in the sewer. Like, no one. Oh, don't. You're going to get me wound up now.
Yeah. So I think if we start talking about the bad things, we'll start to
We're going to start hating it again.
Yeah.
I was at peace with it.
Here's a good comment here. This is I'll read out in a second, but this is a really good idea. And I never thought about it until I just saw it. So Dream Villain says they shouldn't have killed Cameron in Kills and had him doing the Corey arc and ends. Would have been more of an emotional connection. 100%. Because if they just make Cameron's dad die in Halloween Kills, Cameron going through his issues with Allison, jealousy, blah, 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 I think that would have been a fantastic idea.
I totally would buy that. I'd also buy the fact that, if Corey had been introduced, even in Halloween Kills, I could buy into that kind of thread more. But that would have been great. That would have been a great arc for Cameron, and you would really kind of, I think people would have got behind that, because it's somebody they're familiar with from the beginning, and he has an arc. The guy's a bit of a dick, and all these struggles that he's had throughout the two films, and then flips in Halloween Ends. I think you're right. I think that would have been a really good idea.
Absolutely. And I think it goes as a kind of similar arc to Michael Myers, because you've got Cameron in the first movie where he's a dickhead, and then you've got Cameron in the second movie where he's a bit of a hero or an anti-hero, because people are starting to warm towards him. And can you imagine he just flips and then he's a killer? That's a great idea. Dream Villain. I'm going to keep that in mind, Dream Villain.
There'll be a video going up in a few days now.
If I do a video on that, I will quote you. Dream Villain follows me on Twitter as well, so he's an Aston Villa fan. There you go. So yeah, that's a really good idea. Why did I mean, if an Aston Villa fan can think of that, how can David Gordon Green not think of that, or anyone? That's a great. I can't stop thinking of that. That's a really good idea.
There's gonna be 2 videos on this now.
Oh, one saying it was my idea, and 2 saying it's nobody else's idea. There you go.
Oh, Frank sent a super chat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't get it. Oh, I'll read it from this screen. Hold on. Frank Riker sends in $5. Thanks very much, Frank. Scraping the bottom of the barrel with this guest, aren't you, Barry? Good morning to you both. Yeah. I really want
link, Frank. Join us. Come and join us for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I wanted you, Frank, not Darren. When the Slaughtered Lamb contacted me, I thought, yes, Frank, let's do it.
I'm like cut price Frank.
The British Frank. Right, let me just checking if I've missed anything. Yeah, people are talking about Exorcist Dominion. Yeah, I can't believe the name skipped my mind. I was like, Exorcist the beginning, and then Dominion.
Yeah. It's
they're not great films.
They're honestly there. I thought, someone's kind of confirmed it there, but yeah, I do remember at the time that the film was that bad that they decided to go away and reshoot it basically with some of the same cast, and as I forget who it was who pointed out that Isabel, one of the Bond girls, I think it is, Isabella Scorupco.
She was possessed.
It appeared in the reshot version as a person possessed. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I genuinely thought that they just filmed like 4.5 hours worth, made a cut of the movie. People hated it. They went back to the drawing board, cut it again, and then brought that out. That's what I thought they'd done. But obviously not. They reshot some things. Cynthia J says, are you talking about the George C. Scott one? No, that was Exorcist 3, which was a good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
With Brad Dourif as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. Everybody talks about it, but that scene with the
it's a great scare, isn't it?
So good. I wasn't expecting that.
This blew my mind a couple of years ago when we did an episode on, I think it was maybe The Lost Boys or something like that, or maybe we were talking about The Exorcist, Frank and I never knew that Jason Miller was the father of
Jason Patrick
from The Lost Boys.
Yeah.
But it goes on from that.
Oh.
So Jason Patrick's granddad is Jackie Gleason.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there's this kind of 3 generations of Hollywood in this one family. You're going to Google that now, aren't you?
Well, I'm looking at Jackie Gleason, and I thought I remembered Jackie Gleason looking like Jason Patrick's dad, but he doesn't.
I think it's maybe his mum's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jackie Gleason.
It's crazy, isn't it? They've all got different names. Obviously, stage names and stuff, but you just never know. Some people don't even know that Emilio Estevez is related to Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Which is the little twins.
No, I think I always knew that as a kid.
Yeah.
Especially, Young Guns and things like that. Who was in The Wrath or The Wraith, whatever? I can't remember which way you pronounce it.
Was
that Charlie Sheen? Yeah.
I've not seen that.
It's a good film. It's interesting.
Is it Matt Dillon?
I can't remember now.
Let me check. It's 1986, I believe. Yep. Oh, Nick Cassavetes it is.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Face Off. Yeah, and Randy Quaid as well. Clint Howard.
Yeah, he's in everything, isn't he?
Yeah, I suppose. Do you know that?
And Clint Howard's the little kid from Gentle Ben.
What's that?
Oh, it's an old American TV show about a young boy who had a big grizzly bear as a best friend called Ben. Yeah. It used to be on TV in the UK you remember before the news at 6 o'clock, they would always run a TV show for half an hour between 5:30 and 6. Gentle Ben was always on of an evening, maybe in the 80s or something. And it was an American show about a young kid who had a grizzly bear as a best friend, a proper big bear. And yeah, that was Clint Howard.
Oh, he was the kid?
He was the kid, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I remember TV shows way back, even to the Waltons. I don't even know if was the Waltons still going when I was born.
I remember the Waltons.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
That was constantly on in my house on a Sunday afternoon.
But
the only reason I hated the Waltons is because I knew the next day was the school day. It was like the start of the week.
Well, that was it. Bullseye as well. When Bullseye was on a Sunday, it was like, it's the end of the weekend now. This is it. Got to have a bath.
It's bath day, yeah.
Bath day, yeah.
It's Sunday.
Once a week we would bath. Jesus.
Yeah. That wasn't because we didn't like it. It's because we couldn't afford to have a bath every day. That was it. And
it's pretty much similar to that now.
Yeah, well, it is, yeah, definitely. I remember we had one bath a week, and it was me, my sister, and my brother all shared the same bath.
All share the same water, yeah.
Yeah. Not the same bath, but the same water, yeah. One in, one out, one in, one out. Yeah. And that was it.
Jeez.
So you don't want to be third in the bath. You want to be first.
Oh, and the water had like a meniscus on it, like a skin.
Yeah. You have to push the skin to the bottom. Oh, God. It doesn't seem that long ago, but...
No.
It was. Times have changed there. Even if we can't afford it, the kids are in the shower for like 20 minutes. I'm like, have you washed your hair yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, get out. Let's have a look and see what we've got. Yeah, that's true as well. Evil Alex says Cameron wouldn't side with Myers. Well, you say that now, but if we have the similar arc to what Corey has, then they would make him have side with Michael. But maybe it could be a case of a bit more of a fight between them, though, especially at the end. I think they could make it. If they can make Cameron work in some people's eyes, then I think, Corey, then I think Cameron would work because people already know him. So it wouldn't be a case of people saying, why are you bringing Corey in and we don't know him and he's the main character? Whereas if you'd done it with Cameron, they'd be like, do you know what? This is his third movie. He's a big character and he's a fantastic actor as well. The guy that plays Cameron, he's going to be in a movie this year called April 19th, 1992. I believe it's about the Rodney King.
Right, okay.
So it's going to be one of the big films of the year, big actors in it, and he's playing one. He's playing one of the main characters. I've seen one picture of it, and I think it's going to be good.
He's not playing one of the cops, is he?
Don't know. He's got a skinhead in it, I think. So I don't know. It's not a good sign when they get a skinhead.
No, exactly. Yeah.
But he'll show his range.
Because he's a good actor for sure. Good actor.
I think he's great. I think he was the best person in Halloween Kills. People disagree with that.
I still think that they based his look upon a young Michael Myers.
Cameron or Corey?
Corey.
Corey, yeah.
Oh, sorry, were you talking about Cameron for this Rodney King thing?
Yeah, Cameron.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about the
Rohan.
Corey character.
Well, he's also a good actor. He's a good actor as well, yeah. But you think he looks like Tony Moran?
I think he looks like Tony Moran when they pull the mask off him. And when you see those shots of Tony Moran, that publicity stills they did around the time, they're kind of difficult to find, but there's a few of him around the time that he was shooting, or the afternoon that he shot Halloween, whenever it was. He has that same hair and build and likeness to Rohan Campbell. Yeah, and I honestly think there was a conscious effort there to make him look like a young Michael Myers, and that's why you get that moment when he looks through the gap and there's that transfer in it. I think I feel like Michael sees a younger version of himself in Corey.
Yeah, and he shows the pity to him. Yeah, that's what I think as well. Cynthia J says, I don't know if Frank will be happy with this. Barry and Darren and Frank have to do a live show after the CCM 6. Frank will be pulling his hair out.
That'd be like a zoo.
You need to be stuck in the middle so that we don't get to each other.
Good point, Evil Alex. He says Corey is 21 in the beginning of the film, like Myers in the first film.
Yeah, that's right. Another good point. Well, remember what do you call it? The credits at the end of Halloween. People still get confused by the credits at the end where it says Michael at 23 or 23-year-old Michael. It's just a genuine mistake.
It's a mistake, but they did it in the next film as well.
So
isn't Halloween 2 the credits wrong as well?
They probably just used the same credits from the first one.
Cut and paste.
Yeah, cut and paste. Added a few names in. They genuinely probably did that just to save time. But yeah, unless they just can't count. They're like, right, he's 6 years old and 63, blah, blah. He's 23. Unless they're expecting to bring the movie out in 1980 and brought it out earlier.
Maybe.
Frank says Martin Sheen and Simon Pegg are twins. Yeah, they do look like each other.
Do they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now.
I think because you always picture Martin Sheen with long underworld hair or darker hair, whereas Simon Pegg's more baldish.
I see. Do you know what I was thinking of? Michael Sheen. No, Martin Sheen's Charlie's dad, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of Michael Sheen as well.
Michael Sheen.
Yeah, but now that you've said that, Frank, I think Michael Sheen does look like a bit. But no,
I can't see Martin Sheen and Simon Pegg.
No, he's
pulling our leg, isn't he?
He is, yeah. But I'm glad they said that.
That's like the Clint Eastwood and Stan Laurel.
What?
When you think about it.
No.
Clint Eastwood and Stan Laurel, there was, and you can Google this, there were rumors for years. There's people like, there was an insistence that Stan Laurel was Clint Eastwood's dad for ages. Total bullshit. And if you Google it, you can see, and people are just like, because of the ages and all that sort of thing. And but Clint Eastwood's about 6'6", and Stan Laurel was about 5'4" or something.
Maybe he got a big mother. I'm looking at it now. They do look alike.
They do, yeah.
But you could also
it's like an urban myth or something that's been going around for ages.
You could look at Hugh Jackman as well and think he's Clint Eastwood's son, because they are the spitting image of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, not Martin Sheen. Doesn't look like.
Oh no, he's saying Michael Sheen. He's corrected it now. He's saying Michael Sheen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that got confusing there. Aaron Click says, maybe they knew Mike was correct age by Halloween 2 and thought it would be more confusing to change the age. Maybe they prioritized consistency over accuracy. Probably. That might be the case.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably.
Either that or it was just cut and paste. But yeah.
I mean, Halloween 2 for me, it's certainly for me the best sequel in the franchise. But the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it. I just think I don't have a problem with Dick Warlock at all as a shape. If anything, what he does in that movie, in terms of, I know that people say he's a little bit robotic and slower and things like that. I think of him as a kind of wounded Michael. But I talk about this all the time, and that's why I'm wearing the T-shirt with it on, the Firewalk. I just think it's one of the great stunts. I really do. And the fact he did it, I think in a recent interview, there was an interview with Sean Clark, I think it was. And I think he said he did it 3 times, that stunt.
Was it Dick Warlock that done this stunt?
Sorry?
Was it Dick Warlock that
Yeah,
done
he
this
did
stunt?
it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did it. And it's just, I just think it just, I mean, it's shot beautifully, apart from the fact that they could have just cropped in a little bit because you can see the side, down the side of the set on the right-hand side. But I think it's shot beautifully. I think the fact that you can't see anything at all of that guy because there's so much fire on him. I don't know, he's in a suit and things, but who cares? It's a stunt. I just think it's an incredible stunt. And every time I watch that film, I'm just in awe of it. I just think it looks beautiful on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good movie. I don't think it's the best sequel.
H2O.
H2O, yeah. I just I think because Halloween 2 had to live up to the original. You compare a film by the previous film. That's what I do. So going from Halloween 1 to Halloween 2, it was never going to be an easy ask for Halloween 2, and it wasn't. But I still really enjoy it. But I feel like it's one of those films where the more I watch it, the more I hate it. Not hate it, the more I don't enjoy it as much as I did the previous time. It feels like nothing happens. It just feels like
really?
It feels like an extended scene in Halloween. Because it is all one big scene, really, because they're in the hospital, and I don't know. I
don't know. I just think they handle the continuity from 1 to 2 so well. Okay, you can argue that there was no need for them to reshoot. Why they reshot that stunt that Jim Wyndburn did in the first movie, I don't know. Because you can because it doesn't even look as good. It's him going up a ramp and backwards and over the edge. And Michael actually, when he's shot in the original, he turns as he goes to be blasted out of the off the balcony, but yet he falls backwards. It's kind of the continuity is a bit off there. But anyway, besides that, the actual continuity of Halloween 1 to 2, I think, is pretty seamless, bar a few tiny little things. I think they did a great job considering it was 3 years later.
Yeah. It looks like it was filmed on the same night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Especially the scene where you see him hiding in the bushes in the lane, and you see Dr. Loomis going to the car saying, "I shot him 6 times." And he goes to Mrs. Elrod's house, and the young girl. That all looks beautiful, and it looks like it was genuinely John Carpenter that shot that. So yeah, I think it's seamless. It just looks like Halloween 1. I just felt like the story was stretched out on that one night, and that's probably one of the reasons I'm glad that they didn't end up making Halloween Ends on the same night, because you can't have too much of a story over the space of one night, because it would get boring pretty fast.
But and there's something to be said as well, and I don't know why they've never done it. Maybe because the people of Pasadena wouldn't allow it now, but or whether it's a tax breaks thing or something with filming in outside of California, but taking the movie back to those original locations, I think would have been so much better for. I mean, don't get me wrong, Halloween 2018 to a certain extent does look like Haddonfield. Halloween Ends, it was shot somewhere completely different to the to Kills in 2018, and doesn't feel like the same location whatsoever, does it? Even though it's supposed to be the same location. The houses look different. Everything about it just doesn't feel like that small town vibe of Haddonfield from the first 2 movies, or even Halloween 2018. It just feels off slightly.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And so I just always think, the people of Pasadena are probably sick to the back teeth of tours and fans and people rocking up with pumpkins on their front doors and knocking on the door and can I take a photo? They're probably sick to the back teeth of it, and that's maybe one of the reasons why, maybe they have tried to film there over the last 5 or 6 years, and it's just been a flat out no from the residents. But it's a shame that they haven't been able to visit those locations again.
Yeah, I don't know if Halloween 4 was shot in a similar location, but I think the the location shooting for Halloween 4
was
good.
Utah, wasn't it? I think.
Was it?
Salt Lake City, I think.
I don't know why they couldn't maybe try and go back there. Because remember the scene where they go to the shop and you've got Wade and
that kind of feels like
that whole
Haddonfield.
The exterior of those shops felt like the exterior of the hardware store. That Michael stole the rope and stuff from. Just looks like the same street, and I think it looks really. Again, it might be nostalgia that's thinging, but I just think it looks and feels very much like Haddonfield, as Haddonfield should.
Yeah, No, I think they did a good job in Halloween. You know, the stuff in the streets at night when the 4 different Michaels are kind of approaching them. I get that. That feels like, you know, Haddonfield, I guess, from the first 2 movies. But nothing feels, you know, nothing has really felt like that first film ever. I don't think since. They've done a good job, but it's never felt quite the same.
I think because a lot of the iconic scenes feature the location of Haddonfield. You got the school when Michael's touching the fence as he's watching Tommy, and then following Annie up to the Wallace house behind the tree. Yeah, you know, the mood, the lighting, the atmosphere.
Yeah,
and just obviously speed kills. You see him in the car.
Yeah.
Everything is in that
it's location based, isn't it? Yeah. And that's why that I thought there was a scene in Halloween Ends where Jamie Lee looks out the window and sees Corey Cunningham stood at the side of that bush. I don't know what they were trying to achieve with that, because I know it was kind of jogging Laurie's memory, but it just looked naff, didn't it? It just didn't. It failed, I think, did that moment.
And the bush wasn't even big enough to hide someone. But there was a scene in Halloween Kills that was cut when little Laurie Elam saw Michael get into the bushes. That was a deleted scene.
Oh, from the flashback.
Yeah, and they put it into the extended cut. Did you see that?
Right. Yeah. Yes, I did.
That scene was good. I don't know why they cut that, but that would have been really good to keep in. Stuff like that was quite. It felt like Halloween, but obviously it was set in 1978. That scene, and I think they've done a really good job in recreating the mood of the 78 movie.
Oh, it's terrific.
Yeah.
So you just want to stay in that space, don't you?
Yeah.
You want to stay there, and you want to. I would have been quite happy with just extending just having a direct sequel to Halloween 78 on that same night, because they'd done 20 minutes of it. Another hour, an hour and 10 minutes. I'd have been in my element with that. I think it was superb.
Yeah, I think people probably would have thought it was a bad idea at the time, but then when they physically watched it, they're like, "Do you know what? This is a good idea." But I don't see why they can't take those elements and bring them into modern day. Like, they're capable of making it really good and moody. Why not continue it in 2018 with the same type of atmosphere? Why just save it for that one scene?
Yeah.
Continue on. Give us a good location, but that's only kind of negatives I really have for the new films, is they try too hard at times, or they don't try enough.
Yeah.
You know, there's never that middle ground.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
I get it.
But we've always got the next Halloween movie that comes out. Are you excited for it?
Do you know what? I'd rather see. I'm really excited for what they're doing with Friday the 13th. I'm excited to see what happens there. And there was a few little snippets that came out the other day, which were like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I really, really like Brian Fuller, who did Hannibal. I thought Hannibal was fantastic. A24 stuff I really like. I hope that people, you know, are not expecting a campy campfire slasher, because I don't think we're going to get that at all. I think we're going to get something completely different, and I'm all for it. I think it sounds great, and I think you've got the right people behind it to give this some credibility and to maybe milk it out for a couple of seasons. I do worry that the fan base out there that are just going to be disappointed with it. I do. I'm happy to go in with an open mind with it all, knowing what his work's like, and that he's not just going to spend 10 hours with a machete. He's not going to do that at all. It's going to be a lot more labored and drawn out and well written, because that's what he does. He writes good stuff.
Do you think we'll see any scenes where you see the killer's perspective, like in Friday the 13th?
Maybe. I mean, we may get some of that stuff, but I think, I don't think from the first, episode onwards, we're just going to get slash and hack. I don't think we're going to get that at all. I think it's going to be a more carefully drawn out piece that's, a lot better quality than the movies that we've had.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think I think in the first episode they might try and appease all the fans to get them on board. They might start with the backstory, because that's where you need to begin. It is a series after all, but I think they might give us, like, this is just a rough example. It will say 1958, and it's camp people with Pamela when she's younger, and then it will say 2023, somebody getting killed by Jason, then going back to 1958 again, just to tell the story leading up to something, so that people can go, okay, we know that Jason's going to be in it eventually. Now let's be patient and watch the story unfold. So give us a story with Pamela, maybe have her partner that has Jason's dad, Jason as a kid being bullied at the camp, Jason disappearing. Where is he? But I don't know how grounded they're going to make it. Is Jason going to be like Jason Lives, Part 6? Or is it going to be Jason from... In fact, Jason was always supernatural, wasn't he? Because he died as a kid.
Yeah, he died in 4, didn't he? So, yeah.
Well, he died in 1, really, because he drowned.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yes, so he's always been supernatural, but to what extent are they going to try and make it more realistic supernatural, if that makes sense? Or are they going to go full-blown Jason floating in the air? And,
The one thing that does worry me, and neither Frank or I are huge fans of... We love the franchise, but we're not huge fans of the first film. I don't really like it that much. I think I love the effects work in it. I think it's a kind of obvious... we all know it was a cash in on Halloween that struck gold. But the whole kind of whodunit aspect always kind of drives me mad, because you just have no way of guessing who it is whatsoever. And so that really pisses me off every time I watch it. But they've talked about the fact that Adrian King's going to come back for the TV series. And that concerns me slightly. I don't mind the fact that they're going to do it sounds like they're going to take some inspiration from the likes of Halloween and bring back some nostalgia characters and things like that. But she's possibly the lamest final girl in Hollywood history. She's not a very good... I mean, there's loads of Friday the 13th fans going to be kicking off now. I don't think she's a good actress. I don't think she's done very much over the years that's allowed her to kind of build and improve on what she's done, what she did on the original Friday the 13th. And so I do worry that about her being in it, because I don't think she's very good.
I don't think there's any actors or actresses in the Friday franchise that are very memorable or big these days. When you've got Tom Matthews, it's probably the biggest known actor and the biggest character in the whole franchise. To me, anyway, it's Tommy Jarvis. But everybody else is forgettable to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
And
maybe, Amy Steele.
She's part of 3, is she?
She's 2.
2?
She's 2.
Oh, yeah.
She's done, obviously, April Fool's Day and
that's right,
some other stuff as well. She was good. She was actually really good. And I always consider... I don't mind the Mrs. Voorhees story, but I always kind of consider the second film the start of it all for me.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got Kevin Bacon that was in the first one and things like that. But not many people have gone on to bigger and better things from the Friday the 13th franchise. Whereas when you look at Halloween over the years, there's been a lot of people that have broken out from Halloween. There's also been a lot of people that have broken out from Scream as well. So it's, Adrian King, I'm not convinced they should bring her back. And if they do bring her back, I hope it's very briefly. I hope it's not the fact that she's going to be the focus for the whole TV show.
But I thought the whole reason for this show was a complete reboot so that nothing else matters. So does she die in part 2 at the beginning?
She did, but I don't know whether they're going to kind of... I'm not quite sure the way that they're going with it, whether it's going to be a kind of retcon from part 1 onwards, or whether it's going to be... whether she's going to come into it just as...
someone else.
I don't know, a narrator, or do you know what I mean? Or as somebody else. It's...
That would confuse things, though, for fans who are totally dedicated to the franchise. I'm not as much, but it's like bringing Danielle Harris into the David Gordon Green trilogy as another character.
Just leave it.
People are like, people are like, is that Jamie Lloyd? Is she supposed to be Jamie Lloyd? What's the deal here? I think that would be the same Adrian King. I think people are like, okay, is she the same character? And if so, how did she not die? If she died, how is she back alive? Is this now a sequel? Is it a retcon? Is it a requel? Is it a prequel, sequel, remake?
Yeah. I'm sure. And I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were chatting about the possibilities of it airing this year, which I can't see that happening, because the interview with Fuller, which came from how long would it be now? It was a 40th anniversary screening of Friday the 13th Part 3, which was, I think it was like just before Christmas or just after Christmas. And he said, he spoke about a few things. Actually, I have it here. One second. Bear with me, and I'll tell you exactly what he said. So it was a Q&A after the screening. Okay, Chris, and this was the 14th of January. So maybe there was an update from a fan screening of Friday the 13th 3D. Crystal Lake info from Brian Fuller. They officially start writing in 2 weeks. So they haven't even written it yet. They're starting to write it now as we speak. The writers were in the audience. It will have 2 scores to choose from, a modern one and a classic Manfredini one. Kevin Williamson is writing an episode, and Adrian King will have a recurring role.
It sounds like a mixture of everything.
It does, doesn't it? Well, they've said now they have access to everything, haven't they? Because isn't Sean S. Cunningham going to do a film as well?
Well, I was going to say that. It sounds like it's going to be something like the Chucky franchise now, where you're going to get a film series and a TV series. It could
Too much
confuse
Friday.
things. So I hear that Sean Cunningham's going to do a movie series, and the rest of the guys are going to be involved in the TV show. So it's almost like a versus thing now. What one are we going to support? Even though you can watch both and be happy, but you're always going to get that fan base that go, I won't support this one, I will support this one, But I'm just happy that they're doing something.
It's just great that they're doing it, and it's great for the for the genre, subgenre, whatever you want to call it, because we since Halloween's gone off the scene now, and Scream will be quiet for another year, I guess. I mean, because those guys are going to do Escape from New York. Are they talking about doing that after the next Scream film, or in between, or?
It'll have to be after, if they've got a trilogy planned. If it's a trilogy they've got planned.
I saw a good film. I meant to say to you this. Have you seen this? A movie called Candyland last week, which no one is talking about.
I've got it ready to watch.
It's really good.
Yeah.
The performances are great in it. They sold the film with a trailer which was a bit kind of exploitative. The film's not as exploitative as the trailer would suggest.
Right.
But there's some great performances there. It's the girl from It Follows. One of the guys from X, the kind of the cameraman, the skinny cameraman guy in X. He's in it as well. Mm-hmm. And it's a really different slasher film. And I really dug it when I watched it.
What girl in It Follows? Is it the main girl?
The main girl, yeah.
Micah Monroe? I didn't know she was in that. You sure?
I'm pretty sure it's her. 1 second.
It probably is. I usually follow her. No pun intended.
Where?
Yeah. in Hollywood. She's not credited for it.
Olivia Lucardi.
Oh, that's
she was
her.
in It Follows, right?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. You're talking about our friend.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I thought you meant the main girl.
Yeah.
So yeah, her.
And William Baldwin, who's haven't seen for years, is in it as well. But it's a really interesting and different slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty full on.
I'll watch.
But well worth a look. And I'm just surprised that no one is talking about it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you look on Candyland on Tomatoes, 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's got really good reviews.
I'll definitely check it out. It's on
definitely worth a look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like it would be something I'd like to see anyway.
Yeah. It's like I say, it's basically about truck stop sex workers, and the characters are fantastic. They're all got their own little quirks and everything. The characters are really well developed. They're good performances, and there's a kind of local religious sect that they banish one of the girls who works for them, who's within that cult, if you like, and she ends up going to work with the truck stop workers.
Yeah, but
obviously what they're doing is a huge sin.
Right.
So she decides to kind of deal with that. It's really, really interesting, and like I said, it's getting no traction whatsoever.
Is it a romantic film? Can I watch it with a wife?
I would be very careful about watching it with your wife. There's some pretty full-on imagery in it, especially as it kind of develops as it gets towards the end.
Right. So it's not a Valentine film then?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I guess I have to stick to Titanic 3D then.
Yeah, I think that's probably better. Put Grease on or Pretty Woman. You'll be better off with that.
Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. Yeah.
One of my favourite movies. I'll go back to the chat. We'll finish it up quite soon. I just don't want to miss anything.
Okay.
That people have asked. You okay? Just for another 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, let's have a look. People just talk about Friday the 13th. The Everscathe says maybe the Friday the 13th show will be about 3 people that open up an antique shop with haunted items within, but this time it's in Crystal Lake. I mean, that's quite cool for an anthology. You get stories within Crystal Lake that are all connected to one another. That'd be quite interesting. I know they had a Friday the 13th show years ago. Remember that?
Yeah, they did. It was kind of like the Freddy's Nightmares or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If they never ever got the rights to Jason or Young Jason, but they only ever get rights to the name Camp Crystal Lake, I think I would do that just to make money.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're being serious, but that was a good idea. I think that's us caught up.
Talking of anthologies, my wife came up with an idea the other day, and she said, why don't they do an anthology series of all those shows that were ended abruptly and finish them off in one episode?
Like a feature-length thing?
So just each episode is like, I don't know, Firefly, that got cancelled suddenly, Hannibal got cancelled suddenly, and just do an anthology series, call it Concluded or Conclusion or something like that, and each episode is just a wrap-up of all those series that were cut off.
How good would that be?
Yeah, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great?
If you had to choose one.
Or Hannibal, for me, for sure. Hannibal.
Me, it would be Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, really? Was the rug pulled from that at the awkward moment?
Yeah. That was so good. One of the best shows ever, and it just got cancelled.
Yeah.
Not horror, but it's still something that shouldn't have got cancelled ever.
Evil Alex said that would cost a lot of license money. It would. It maybe would, but it could make a lot of money as well.
I think it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got shows that were so good back in the day that they weren't cancelled because they were bad. They were cancelled because of money purposes or whatever reasons. And I think people would pay to see a finale of some of their favorite shows.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good idea.
It would just cut off in their prime.
Are you going to patent that idea?
I think she got that idea from somewhere. I'm not quite sure where.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
Well, if you see me doing a video about Cameron, it should have been Corey. That's my idea. You heard it here first. I'm only kidding, Dream Villain. Or am I? Yeah. So yeah, one last thing. Hannibal was the best.
Did you ever see Hannibal?
Nope, never seen one episode.
Well worth watching, even though, yeah, it's awkward watching it now, knowing that it ends. But it kind of ends well, I guess.
Does it end in a way that you don't have to see more?
I think where it was heading, everybody wanted to see more,
right?
Because they were getting to the point where they were going to start with Silence of the Lambs, and so it was just unfortunate that it stopped at that moment, because that's what everybody was. That's what it was working towards. They covered Red Dragon and things like that, so it was that's what they were, and I think they covered. They covered Mason Verger. I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, they did. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I might check it out, but
it's terrific. It's terrific.
I'll do one last one before we go, because I saw this. Nobody's heard of this apart from Frank, apparently. Frank Riker says, I wish they finished the TV series Werewolf properly. Some of the best makeup. I've actually got the TV show. I downloaded it years ago, and I've still got it, and I've not watched it. But in the UK, Darren, I don't know if have you heard of Werewolf?
I have, but I've only heard of it through Frank. That was it.
Right. Well, in the UK, they didn't release the show. They released the first couple of episodes as a movie.
Oh, okay.
So we never actually got the show in the UK. We only got the first episode or two as a one-part
Was that
movie.
on like VHS or something?
Yeah, on VHS. Yeah. So that's all we got. And that was one video that I looked at in the video store that I wanted to rent, but I never did. So I've never seen it, but I heard it's good as well. But if Frank's saying there's some good makeup in it as well, and obviously we love our werewolves, don't we? So yeah, and that's it, guys. So I didn't realize I was going to get that many people watching. I had a constant 40 odd people watching.
It was 50 at one point, I noticed.
Yeah, there you go. That's good for a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And excellent. I'm trying to do live streams without the need to write in the write Halloween in the title or show a Halloween picture, because I want people to click on it without having to click on it for Halloween purposes, just to see, because I can't always rely on Halloween, So
yeah.
But it's always good to talk about Halloween, of course.
That's the thing, isn't it? And we're all kind of as content creators, it's we've all enjoyed a very good kind of June, July, August, September, October, and then everything kind of goes a bit like that, doesn't it? And so you sit back and have to come up with new ideas. And even Frank and I the other day said, well, it's been 2 or 3 months, let's talk some Halloween again, just see what we can come up with. It is because a lot of your subscribers are Halloween fans. So it's a constant challenge of having to come up with new ideas and things. So
I know it's hard. I mean, I've got I'm doing some Scream videos just now because that's obviously popular at the moment. And some of the Scream videos I'm doing, they're getting like 20,000, 30,000 views, which is good. Yeah. So obviously I'll be talking about Scream for a while. I spoke about it last year, but at that point it was all Halloween fans that I had. So it wasn't as much. But now that Halloween's kind of dying out, all the Scream fans are coming back up again, which is good. So Scream contents is quite big at the moment, which is good. So yeah, you need to get Frank talking about Scream.
That's my handicap. I can't.
Yes, you can.
We were on a stream last night. And I think the last thing he said, any final thoughts, Frank? And he just went, fuck Scream.
There you go.
What can you do?
He needs to convert.
Yeah.
He needs to convert.
I'm surprised, though. I didn't realize that Scream was your favorite franchise like that. I always assumed it was Halloween.
No, well, Halloween's my favourite movie, you know, the
Mm.
first Halloween movie.
Yeah.
But Scream, you know, when it came to me watching horror movies, when I started purchasing my own horror films, I was like 13 years old, and Scream came out that time.
Mm-hmm.
So 13-year-old me with £10 to spend, I'm going to buy that X rental of Scream from Blockbuster Video.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So yeah, that was like my gateway. Like teen slasher movies from the 90s
Yeah,
was my gateway to horror. I did watch horror way before it, like the classics, like A Night on Elm Street, Halloween, you name it. But as I started to have my own mind and my own choices, it was Scream. And
is that period, because obviously for me, growing up in the 70s and early 80s, my period was always, horror period was always the late 70s and the 80s with what we had in the UK with the nasties period. That's always going to be my go-to era for me. Do you always are you always gravitating towards the 90s horror?
Well, the thing is, I was born in '83, so I'm old enough. I'm old enough to remember the '80s.
Yeah.
But I'm also a '90s kid as well, so I'm an '80s and a '90s kid. But being a massive horror fan in the age of the internet, I would always search for the video nasties, and most of them were from the '70s and '80s.
And 80s,
so so I'm more of a '70s, '80s, and '90s horror fan. But the reason I enjoy '90s more is because they're more modern to me.
Yeah.
But I know that kids today will look at '90s films and think, "Look at the state of that. That's so old," you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think just it depends what your taste is and when you were born. Luckily for me, I grew up loving horror, so old horror is fine for me. Modern horror to me at the time was '90s.
Yeah.
You know? So a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to that. But Scream, like I said, it doesn't have a bad entry. Some weird decisions throughout the franchise, but nothing that's put me off.
No.
So yeah,
I can hear Frank swearing right now.
Frank agrees with me. I'm sure he does. What Frank's younger than me, isn't he? I think he is. I think Frank's younger.
I'm not sure, actually. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to say people's ages, but I'm sure Frank's younger than me. And if not, he's round about the same age as me. So I don't know why he wouldn't like Scream. Maybe he just
does.
he got scared when he was a kid.
Yeah.
That's about it. But anyway, guys, it's been over 2 hours.
It has.
Yeah.
It was fun. Thanks for having me on. It was really good fun. I enjoyed that.
No problem. Like I said, it was just an impromptu video. Nothing specific was organised. This is a bit of fun. It's something I don't do that very often, and I don't do a lot of collabs. I get lots of requests from people that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And they say, they come and say like, "Oh, come and do a collab with me," and I'm like, "Sorry, I don't know you. I'm sorry." I'd rather get to know people first before jumping onto things. But it's always good to having you guys on. And obviously, if Frank's awake and not working, it's good to have him on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, no, not a problem. And again, thanks for coming on, Darren. Thanks for everyone. Super chats, no super chats, whatever. Everyone who's commented and made this 2 hours fly by. It's flown by. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.